In a previous video, we had discussed this question. How do we understand the value of each place value? Understanding if you put a digit, a single digit, into a place value, how does it differ depending on where you place it on the place value chart? We represented that chart by creating or following these three steps. First, singing the place value song, creating a place value chart, and then recognizing that the place value difference between each from right to left is times 10. Let's look at a couple different questions that you can practice here on this website by downloading the worksheet right below this video. By placing the answers in the boxes, you'll be able to show me that you understand the differences between place value digit holders. In other words, if I were to create a chart, knowing that it starts with ones, then the tens, then the hundreds, followed by thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and then the millions, and that's place value, I would recognize that every single place value starting with ones moving over from right to left to the tens is 10 times greater in the place value to the left, because my greatest place value digit is in the millions all the way down here. I recognize that it just continually gets larger as I move down the place value chart. Each digit, if placed in a place value slot further to the left, will be 10 times greater than the previous place value to the right. To test that knowledge, you can look at questions like this one. The 7 in the number 4,576, we're talking about this 7 right here in the tens place value, is how many times larger than the 6 in 8,456? We're talking about this 6 in the ones place value. So if we're starting at the ones with that 6 from this number and moving to the tens with this 7 in the first number, all you have to recognize is they want you to see the difference between moving from the ones place value to the tens place value. And what do we now know, based on the song that we've sung and the chart that we've created, is that it is 10 times larger because it's in the tens place value. Or more specifically, anytime I move from right to left, one place value digit, it's going to be 10 times larger. The same can be said about example number 2. The 4 in 4,576, so now we're talking about the 4 in the thousands place value being compared to the 4 in the hundreds place value of 8,456. So if I have a 4 in the thousands and I have a 4 in the hundreds, and I'm trying to see what the relationship is between these two numbers, I just need to know that moving from right to left from the hundreds to the thousands is 10 times larger than the previous number to the right. Each place value digit to the right is 10 times smaller, and if you're moving from right to left, it's 10 times larger from right to left. Now you may also get a trick question like the following one. The 3 in 3,576 is how many times larger than the 5 in 8,356? We're talking about the 3, which is in the thousands place value, but we're not talking about the 3 in the hundreds place value. Now we're talking about the 5 in the tens place value. So if I moved from the tens place value to the hundreds, we all know that that is 10 times greater. But I'm not just moving one place value over. They want to go all the way to the thousands place value, which is 10 times more greater than that. And when I do 10 times 10, I'm actually saying it's 100 times larger than that previous number. Now, we're not always asked if it's larger or smaller. We may be asked if it is smaller. Like in this example, the 2 in 3,572 is how many times smaller than the 2 in 5,721? It's still 10 times. Here's why. If I'm looking at the 2 in the ones place value and I'm comparing it to the 2 in the tens place value, and they want to know how much smaller this one is, it's basically a fraction. When I'm moving left to right, back to the ones, it is 1/10 the size of that previous place value. In other words, it's 10 times smaller than that other place value. All you're trying to recognize here is the fact that each place value digit holder is either 10 times larger when moving from right to left, or 1/10 of the number, or 10 times smaller when moving from left to right. Let's look at a couple different questions that will ask this same exact understanding, but in a different way. Sometimes you're looking for relationships between numbers. For example, if I said to you, 716,651 has a red square, which I am now squaring in green, and a blue circle, which I'm now circling in green. And let me get rid of my markings. And I'm trying to determine the relationship between these two numbers. And they specifically ask you the relationship between the value of the 6 in the square and the value of the 6 in the circle. You would have to say that the 6 in the circle, is 10 times smaller than the 6 in the thousands place value, or in the red square. You could also say that the 6 in the red square is 10 times larger than the 6 in the blue circle, because if I'm starting the place value here in the hundreds and moving one place value over from right to left, you're discussing a number that's 10 times larger than the previous number. The same goes for all of these examples. The comparison between blue circle numbers and red square numbers is always going to be that the number further down the left of the place value chart is going to be 10 times larger than the number directly to its right. And if you keep moving down the place value chart, so for example, let's say I circled this 8 and I wanted to know the value of the 9 in comparison to this 8, I would just keep multiplying by 10. Well, this 2 is 10 times greater than the 8, which is 10 times greater than that 2, which is 10 times greater than that 5, 10 times greater than that 9, all the way down to the millions. You'd have a pretty significant difference. But that makes a lot of sense because this 9 is not worth 9. It's worth 9 million. I'm sorry, 900,000. And this 8 is just worth 8. So that would be a pretty significant difference. So again, in answering the question, how do we understand the value of each place value? You just need to recognize that after you have sung the song, created the chart, that each place value from right to left is 10 times larger as you move to the left on the place value chart. Hope this helps.